Oh, welcome, welcome. I am sitting here with one of my favorite people in the world, one of my ride or die sisters, one of my projector soul sisters, someone who I can bring anything to. And this is Lisa Schrader. She's an amazing mentor in the way that she is a role model and a living frequency of peace and purpose and an embodied feminine wisdom. She works with high achieving spiritual women who are really done being driven by pressure and are ready to be powered by pleasure. And, her work has been honored and featured even on Oprah. Remember the Oprah show? She's a certified professional coach through the International Coaching Federation. She takes coaching very seriously, and she's been coaching for a long time. She's a true wise woman, and she loves living on her land with her husband here in Nevada City, where I live in the Sierra foothills, and she's tending her chickens and growing her veggies and her flowers and really living what she teaches. So I'm really excited to have you here, Lisa, today to talk about this queen archetype. This is like you're the first person to pop to mind when I was like,
Wow.
okay, it's time to talk about the sovereign. It's time to talk about the queen. And she's so misunderstood, I feel like. She's so
Mm,
stereotyped and kind of put
mm.
in a box or put on a pedestal. And so, yeah, yeah. So, hi. Hi. So, tell us where
Hi,
you are right now, because
sweetheart.
it's very exciting.
Yeah, I'm just beaming the warmth and the humidity and the sound of the ocean. I don't know if you can hear that. It's probably not picking up the ocean. The ocean's right here. I am in central Mexico on the Pacific side of the coast, just about an hour above Zihuatanejo. And I'm in our friend's home and I'm hanging out with beloveds I've known for um, 30 years, one of them 40 years, for a couple of
Wow.
weeks, and we're eating mangoes and lots of fresh fish and cooking together and swimming in the pool and noticing all the faces of the ocean. Talk about the sovereign queen. Yeah, just, she's so gentle and like bathwater and just undulating and
Mm,
seductively inviting you. And then the next day she's like frothy and fierce and like cold, colder, and currents are dragging you out. And there's rip tides, and it's just like there she is. That's right. These different faces of the feminine. An incredible mentor right here. Yeah, but I am in blissful paradise with beloveds, which is amazing in this moment. Surreal, actually, in
wow.
this moment to be having this experience.
Yeah, I know everything. There's a lot of crazy, wacky stuff going on in the world. It's good to take some time. Like, what's queenly about that? I mean, that I wanted you to share where you are and where it's perfect that we're talking while you're there, because this, I think, is one of the practices of the queen, of the sovereign self, is to take time out and to like dip into nature and to resource ourselves as leaders. And you're
Absolutely.
someone who embodies that every day to me. So tell
Thank
us
you,
a little
love.
bit about that.
Yeah, it's been interesting to be just mulling over this question, this archetype of what is this sovereign queen archetype? And I'm lucky enough to hang out with you, beloved, because you are my mentor for this archetype as well. So I just like, I did some interviewing of the women that are here that I'm here with and said, like, what does this mean to you? And it was interesting. There was, one of us was like, I have really negative associations with this word queen. Like, for all the reasons you don't have to go into like there. So I guess I just wanted to presence that too, because I have reclaimed this word and taken it in but yeah, like she was much more comfortable with the word matriarch, for example, like that,
Mm.
she could hold that with these same kind of qualities. So one of the things I would say, I love that we're having this conversation. You and I have had this conversation many times,
Yes.
and we'll continue to have it. And I also realized just in getting different perspectives, I think it's so important for us to answer this question ourselves. Like, do you resonate with this word queen? What does sovereign mean? What would be the qualities that you would define for yourself? Because I realized in talking to my girlfriends here that there was common themes, but there's some very individual takes on it that were reflective for the women of the life cycle they were in. Like we're late 60s to mid 50s, the women that are here. So like it's very relevant.
Mm.
But when
Mm.
I took the question into my own beingness, the word like authority comes to me around sovereignty. And when I think of authority, I think of it maybe from a more feminine context, that the root of that word is author. So that we are the author of our
Huh.
story, we're the author of our life, we are the creators, and we are
Mm.
especially in the feminine, we are birthing life. And so if we are the authority, and that has to do also with how we lead, what leadership means to us, where do we find our truth in our leadership? And that took me to exactly what your question was, which is like where I need to keep coming back to what I know is true are the elements, like is my connection to the earth, and that is my body. How am I caring for my body? What does my body need? Am I actually grounded? Am I actually receiving energy up from the earth and giving it back to her? Where is my
Mm.
water? Where is my heart? Where are my emotions, my motions of feeling? How's my heart doing? Where's my spirit, my fire, my kundalini, like my spark? What am I passionate about? What am
Yeah.
I what am I burning up, burning away? Where do I need to pull the fire in and warm myself? And the air, which is the mind for me. And in that, some would call that the medicine wheel. I think in your tradition, that would be like the medicine wheel. For me, I think of it as the quaternity. And
Mm.
in my life, like that is something that always is true. Like there's always a way to come back and orient to the dynamic balance of that. And that helps me stay in my clarity and my questioning around what is sovereign and where do I have authority and how can I move with balance. It's like the model is what I realized, like, oh, that's where I go back
Yeah.
to lead from, whether that's leading my life or whether
Yeah.
it's leading in community. Yeah.
I love it. So you just ran through this beautiful quaternity that's based in the four elements, which is one of the rubrics that you use when you're coaching women, in their
Mm-hmm.
leadership. And so I just want to highlight that. And when you were speaking earlier, in my mind, I have my four forms of genius that I'm always sort of thinking about. And so I love how they line up. Like you were, as soon as you got
Beautiful.
on and started talking about where you were, you talked about your body. You talked about your
Mm-hmm.
body's relationship to the ocean and the sensuality
Mm-hmm.
of that. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, that's embodied genius. And you're speaking to the
Yeah.
earth element of being in the body. And then
Yeah.
you were speaking to relational genius, how you're there with people that you've known
Mm.
forever. And you even embodied relational genius in how you were saying, oh yeah, this person had kind of issues with the word queen, but she liked matriarch, and this
Yeah.
person, liked it,
Yeah.
but and all of these women are sort of in that menopausal passage, and I'm like, oh my gosh, here I'm
Relation.
interviewing Lisa, she's interviewing her
Yeah.
circle, because
Right.
that's relational genius. That's relational genius. You are including all the wisdom voices in the room. And that's really beautiful. That heart connection. Maybe that's water in your system. I'm not sure, but I'm like, I'm always trying to draw the through lines, you know?
Yeah. It's comforting, isn't it, when these models, to me, and especially when we can take them back to the fundamentals. That's so, when it just feels
Yeah.
like we are living in a world where there's so little consensus on what is true. It's so hard now to trust what we see, certainly online. So, how, like, where do we find that authority? Where do we find that truth? And when I can take it back to something as fundamental as the elements that make up all of life and have for millions of years, and probably will continue to way after we're gone, that feels true, right? Same with the seasons,
Yeah.
right? Our maiden time and our mothering time and our queen time, which is the time we're in, and our crone elder time, which maps to the spring and the summer and the autumn and the winter, right? Like, these are patterns that I feel, for me, is my compass, but also God help us. God has helped us that we are losing touch with that, right? That we think somehow we are not connected to
Yeah.
this earth, that we somehow, that protecting the environment is some optional thing based on whether or not it's a good bottom line ROI, or I don't even, yeah, it's insane. Like, we have to, we're all breathing this air.
It is.
We're
Yeah.
all, right? We're all living here. We all have bodies. We all have people we love. You know, and to me, this kind of comes back to this queen archetype, obviously, is feminine, right? I mean, you could argue that doesn't matter if you're in a male or a female body, but we're just talking about the quality of the
Mm.
feminine. And so, I don't know, that takes me to the difference between a dominator culture and a partnership culture. Just our beautiful elder Ryan Eisler's work of the chalice and the blade, right? And I would
Mm.
hope that if we're talking about the feminine as queen, that she's holding as sacred um, these qualities of partnership, of pleasure versus pain. Like, we're going to rule with fear and domination versus, like, pleasure and positivity and community. And it's hard right now. It's so hard, but I feel excited about moving from our mother archetype, because I think the menopausal gateway, perimenopausal gateway, is that gateway where we're really asked to step into queen, and we're shedding, you know, the hard things about losing our estrogen, but the good things about losing our estrogen, that we're not people pleasing and we're not taking care of every fucking thing. And we're like actually coming into that, whoa, yeah, no, this is not my work. This is my work. And that leadership, and there is a lot of energy.
Mm.
There is a lot of wisdom. There is a lot of clarity, you know, in that, like, what matters? What are we going to be a stand for? What are we going to speak to? How are we going to design our lives? You know, are we going to, I was taking a long beach walk with my beloved friend, Mary, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, her husband's dying. And one of the really special things about this trip is that we're all getting to be together and talk about
Mm.
death. And he's my age, you know, and there's something that very clarifying about that, right? Of like, we don't
Mhm.
have endless time here. And we were walking on the beach, and my husband Michael and I had gotten into a little rain, and I was processing. We were like mending and coming back together again. I was talking about the process, and she was like saying, yeah, I don't process anymore. We don't process anymore. And I was like, oh, because when time is short, why would you squabble about bullshit and try to say who's right? Right? I'm all right, thing,
Oh,
whatever. Right? And there was just this kind of shift from this, like, we're
wow.
patriarchy,
Yeah.
that dominator model is more like leadership through like, I am right, or I'm going to be superior. Right? And then there's the more relational, maybe we could even say spiritual part of leadership where, yeah, we mend quickly, or we just don't get into that ego cramp in the first place. Who cares? Let it go. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been in an inquiry about that. Speaking of the heart.
I can imagine the queen. The queen archetype is, yeah, her vision and her leadership are wider than that. So she's just kind of like, I'm not
Mhm.
going to waste my time on this. Like, we
Right,
couldn't afford as a culture, we couldn't afford to have the queen
right,
managing tiny details, right? She's looking at what's important. And so how do we bring this into real life though? I mean, I can imagine my ideal queen self, not
right.
worrying about the details and just taking long milk baths and like,
That's right.
but how
Vacationing
do
in
we be
Mexico.
this queen? Yeah, just chill, and be in charge of whatever. I don't know, but what does it look like with your clients, who are leading a lot
Hmm.
and moving through a lot and your friends, and what does it look like when we who are in this time of life do step into this queen?
I think that we think of this like place, I know I do, as some kind of an arrival, right? Like I've amassed all this knowledge and that makes me wise. And I think that speaks to more the shadow form of the queen, like I know everything. And we've got the queen of hearts, right? Like off with your head. There's the very, you know,
Yeah.
unenlightened queen who has to, we see examples of that all over the world right now. Not so much from the queens, frankly. It's more than men, but it's everywhere, right? This like
Hmm.
authoritative, like it's my way
Yeah.
and I don't need anybody else's input. I know.
Right.
So I don't, I think that's not obviously what we're talking about, but I think part of being sovereign is also knowing that we're going to screw up and that we don't know everything
Hmm.
and that we got to have compassion. And I know, at least for me, sovereign queen is like, oh, it's a bad day today. I'm stuck in fear. I don't feel a lot of hope. I don't feel like I can lead anything today. I don't have anything to say or whatever. Like, and to be like, okay, how do we tend to that? How do we like find safe harbor for that? And then that moves just like the ocean changes, right? Like then we get a little resourced. We talk to some sisters. We listen to some wise women on an awesome podcast. We like, oh, okay. All right. We go to the gym. We start drinking more water. We stop drinking the wine. We do whatever needs. We go back to our spiritual practice. Like we tend to that. And then we feel,
Hmm.
hopefully, sort of another wave of our energy and our power. And we want to speak and we want to share, or we have energy to go hold somebody else. Those are the queens that I
Yes.
trust, not the
Such
ones
a
who are
yes.
like, whoo, but the ones who are like,
Yeah.
ooh, it's a bad day and I got nothing to give, or I'm just so sad. I just got to cry. I want a queen who can cry hard
Mm.
and grieve hard, because that's a queen who also can talk to me about ecstasy. She can talk to me about bliss.
Uh-huh.
She can talk to me about how do you hold the reality of what's happening in the world right now, the horror of that, eyes wide open, and also at the same time, there is an ocean out there to swim in, and sun on your body, and people to love, and orgasms to have. this is the same world, right? It's the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
world. And I want to keep
Thank you for that.
sorting that way, sorting for the yumminess. And how do we create that for more people? How do we make a
Yeah.
world that is delicious and loving and cooperative, but also in the reality of the one that we're in, which is not that in so many ways.
Yeah. There's a There's an old idea, I think, that the queen is the ultimate authority, that she's sort of alone at the top and
Yeah.
everything is hers. And when you describe this day of her saying, "This is a bad day. I'm going to
Yeah.
self-tend, I'm going to take care, I'm going to be self-responsible, I'm going to be
Mhm.
patient, I'm going to surrender into the darkness."
Mhm.
And I also would add that I think the queen always has her advisors. The
That's right.
queen, she doesn't act as an individual. She
No.
has this relational genius. She has a council. She has her queen's
Mhm.
council, and she has her
That's right.
trusted advisors. She has her healers. She has her psychics. She has her astrologer. She has,
That's right.
it's more than just her on her own if she's a healthy queen.
I agree. Right? Because that's the partnership model, not the dominator model, where it's like, do what I say,
Uh-huh.
right? It's more like, okay, I mean, in my own life,
Yeah.
I think of this as, it's like I use the word mandala. It's like when I'm stuck or I'm having a hard time,
Mm,
first of all, I'll work with my own quaternity. How's my body? How's my spirit? What's going on with my heart? And what's my mind doing right now? We tend to that. And then, yes, I'll go to my trusted people. Maybe I need body work. Maybe I need the chiropractic adjustment. Maybe I need some therapy, or I need to talk to my coach, right? Or I need to talk to Mellissa. I need to get my counsel of my girls, my ride or die girls, and get some perspective. And then I take that all in. And sometimes I'm like, oh, now I know what to do. And sometimes I'm like, oop, a lot of data. Don't know yet. I mean, I think this is also important. A queen knows how to wait. It is not clear, right? But eventually,
yeah.
maybe it comes in a dream. Maybe it comes in writing. It comes from wherever the hell it comes from. But you're like, oh, okay, I can hear. And I know that this is how I'm going to move, right? And I think once we know that, and this person's like, well, you didn't take my advice, or this person's like, I really don't think you should have done that. And you're like, thank you, thanks for all the input, but yeah, this is my mistake to make, or this is my brilliance to execute, however you want to look at it. That's my truth. Like, how do we find that truth place? And I think it absolutely, for me, for me personally, this is a projector thing, maybe I need to get all the input, and then I need to just go like quiet, internal. That's where I can find the answer.
Yeah, I just had this vision of like standing on I think you and I maybe have talked about this
And
about your system, like standing on almost a disc that's constantly moving, that has those four elements or those four types of genius, like
mm,
that we're constantly finding the center of balance
that's right.
with all of it. And it's a dynamic process. It's not like
Right.
my way or the highway. It's not like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I've got the answer, it'll never change. It's
Mm,
this constant collaborative dynamic process of finding the center of wisdom and being willing to shift when it shifts.
right.
And that's such a different idea than the autocratic, old school,
Mm,
monarch
right.
archetype. We're talking about a queen, not an emperor. We're talking about
Yeah.
a feminine, wise, and imperfect, sovereign, self responsible,
Hmm.
open woman.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you, love. Thank you,
Mm,
love. I get so much of this, what you're talking about. And the way that you talk about it is so nourishing. You're someone, when you send out an email, like one of your email newsletters, I like save it until a moment I can
Yeah.
read it, because it's always an emanation of this. And so, yeah, you're listening and you're like, oh, I want more of this conversation. Like, check out Lisa Schrader. We're going to put the links in the show notes here, but subscribe to our email list. And if you're looking for a guide who comes from this kind of place, check out Lisa, because it's wisdom and kindness that you hold, such a gentleness compared to what we are driven to be, even in our queen years. So I'm so grateful to you and bow to you and taking your space and coming and sharing a bit of your sharing this transmission direct from the beach in Mexico. It feels even more perfect to get this full transmission from you, from where you're
Yeah.
at. So
Oh, honey, I love a delicious invitation. And getting this invitation from you, Mellissa Seaman, just with your brilliance, your genius, your frequency, I just can't believe how grateful I am that we're beloveds and colleagues and neighbors. I just, yeah, I would say that too. It's so important that we have our tribe and our community. It feels, I mean, people talk about, yeah, that's important, but it feels more important than ever. And so
yeah.
thank you for that reflection. I really appreciate that. And I'm so grateful to be invited into your audience in your world. You have the most incredible people who are in your circle in their own frequencies of genius. So it just feels like such an honor to share the space. Thank you so
Well,
much.
you're
Yeah.
so welcome. And thank you, listening, for all that you're doing to stand. You who are listening, we're talking to you. Every time you take care of yourself,
That's
every time
right.
you tend these four elements, every time you come from your surrendered and empowered authority in creating your life, you are doing us
Yes.
all so much benefit. Thank you,
Yeah.
Queen. Thank you, Queen.
Thank you, Queen.